എൻ്റെ പേര് ബോബിയാണ്. ഞാൻ ആമിൻ്റെ മോനാണ്. മലയാളം ശരിയായിട്ട് അറിഞ്ഞുകൂടാതെ ഞാൻ ഇംഗ്ലീഷിൽ പറയുന്നു. ചില സെക്ഷൻസ് മലയാളത്തിൽ പറയാം. Ecclesiastes 7:2 says, "It is better to go to a house of mourning than to a house of feasting. For death is the destiny of every man." So I thank you all for taking time and effort to come and be part of this funeral. But I hope as the family speaks to you about the life of my mother, you are strengthened in faith, knowing that there is a living God, because that's the example our mother set before us. Many of you would be wondering how my mother passed away. So in order to answer that question, my mother passed away on this Sunday at 10 a.m. at the Leela hospital. About 10 days back, while we were here on vacation from Australia, myself, my wife and children, she had a lot of breathing difficulty due to chest infection. We took her to the Leela CCU where she was put on respiratory help and treated for pulmonary embolism and chest infection. But after 7 days in CCU, due to improvement, she was taken out of CCU to be in the ward. But her condition deteriorated quickly and she had to be taken back into CCU. She died in the CCU due to consequences of chest infection and underlying heart disease. She was mentally alert during the time in CCU, and when she was out of CCU for the 2 days, my father, my sisters Susie and Mercy, and myself, my wife Anu, and Tarun and Ashwin, my children, had a wonderful opportunity to talk to her, serve her, and look after her during her last days. She inquired about each family member who was surprised, each grandchild by name. During the time she was in CCU and the 2 days she was out of CCU, we saw her very often in prayer. On the morning of her passing away, when I had the opportunity to be with her in the ward room from 2 a.m. to 6:30 a.m., I remember she looked at the clock and started her prayer at 4 a.m. While she was with her face mask with oxygen, taking oxygen, her hands were like this and eyes upwards, and she was muttering in the face mask. I heard, as I was rubbing her back and her shoulders and the leg, I heard her say loudly, "Amen," and I knew her prayers had ended. I don't know what came to me. I thought of holding her hand and praying with her at that time. Very interestingly, after the prayer ended, her situation started to deteriorate. That was 6:30 a.m. She was rushed back to the CCU, and at 10 a.m. she passed away. Her intense wish was for God to let her live up to the time she could see her eldest grandchild, Nitya, and other grandchild, Bobo, the children of Susie, who were ready for marriage, to be married or engaged. She was very concerned that it was taking time for their marriage. And I know she was constantly in prayer for them to get married. And she was extremely happy to see them, the eldest daughter engaged and the son married. I want to talk to you about a few words about my mother that influenced me. And I hope this will be an encouragement to all others. My mother was extremely loving, caring. She had a great concern for others and was willing to sacrifice herself and many things for the benefit of others, not only the family members but others. She was a great cook who made all sorts of dishes. I never had a wish to eat outside, as all the desires I had regarding eating outside, she made herself. Chinese noodles, steaks, fish cutlet, ice creams, name it. So as I went to college, even away from home, I had no desire really to eat outside. She always looked at the big picture and take a biblical approach of things. She would often talk to us children the principles of the Bible, and one of her favorite being Matthew 5:13. Be the salt of the earth in all your actions and interactions. As I look back at her greatest impact on my life, it was a spiritual side, and let me give you a few glimpses of how she contributed. First of all, she showed me that a God is huge, powerful, and trustworthy, and has to be honored and worshipped. You see, she was very prayerful. We always had evening devotions when we were small, but one day, one evening, when both of us were there together, assembled for prayer, I asked her, why are we praying to this God every evening? What is so great about this God that we need to pray to Him? To this, I still remember, she stared at me in disbelief and gave me a slap on my face, telling me that never ever question about the mightiness of God. I was extremely shocked. Till that day, she had never slapped me on my face, telling that the CPU is over here, the brain, and if you hit on the face, that may get disturbed and you may be mentally go wrong. But I was shocked that she slapped me that day. I slept that day in anger in the bed for many hours, lying awake, really plotting a revenge. But in the night, a thought came to me that she must be loving this God of hers much, much more than me, her dear son. My anger melted to awe and respect to this God whom she trusted and prayed to. From that day, I began to respect this God of the Bible, and her God became my God. She pointed to what is said in the Bible in Matthew 22. Love your God with all your heart, mind, and soul. This is the lesson to us. Are we pointing our children, our grandchildren, to this mighty God? That is the responsibility of every parent and grandparent living on earth. The second point is, see, she showed the power of prayer. From my earliest of memories, I remember her getting up early in the morning and starting a prayer at 4 a.m. She would pray for hours, praying for the needs of each family member. I will tell you a story of the power of prayer. You see, when I was in 8th and 9th class, I was extremely naughty. I was nearly expelled from school for being naughty. As my sisters were away, my fighting opponent partner was my mother, whom I would disobey often just to infuriate her and get her reactions. One time after her prayer at 4 o'clock, when I got up, I asked her, "What are you praying for?" She said, "I am praying for your head to change from your disobedient behavior to obedience and love." I laughed to myself and told her, pray on, nothing will change me. I am having fun." Just 3 days after that mocking reply of mine, I still remember when I was going in my school bus, a powerful thought came over me. And I asked myself, why are you, Bobby, giving such grief to your mother? Why can't you behave and be obedient to your mother and love her? And you won't believe, after the school bus journey, I was a changed boy. Never to be disobedient to her, looking back, it was the power of prayer that changed me. Not the stick, not the worker, not the hitting, but the power of prayer. Therefore, my advice to you is, trust what the Bible teaches. Place your troubles at the feet of Jesus in prayer. Believe me, my experience is that God works on your prayers and will do the best that is for you. The third point is she was a great peacemaker with godly wisdom. I would like to tell the third story on how she gives godly advice. You see, this is an example from my marriage, so I hope my wife doesn't take it bad. I was married to my wife Anu, and after a few months, a strong complaint started to bubble inside me. You see, I am an early riser. I get up at 5 o'clock in the morning. And to my surprise, my partner, Anu, was getting up at 7 o'clock in the morning. That was slowly the romance dropped, and I started to wonder, well, God makes a partner, and she should be awake when I'm awake. This complaint grew within me. And finally, when I was posted in Madras, when my mother called, I said, Amma, എനിക്ക് ഒരു complaint ഉണ്ട്. മോനെ എന്താ complaint? ഞാൻ പറഞ്ഞു, മാമി, ഞാൻ 5 മണിക്ക് എണീക്കുമ്പോൾ അനു 7 മണിക്ക് എണീക്കത്തുള്ളൂ. അപ്പോൾ എന്താ ഗുണം ഒരു വൈഫോടത്? ഞാൻ വിചാരിച്ച അമ്മ എൻ്റെ ഒരു ക്ലോസ് ഫ്രണ്ടാണ്. എൻ്റെ കംപ്ലൈൻറ്റ് വേണ്ടി ഹെൽപ്പ് ചെയ്ത് പറയും, മോനെ ഇപ്പൊ തന്നെ അവളെ ശരിയാക്കിയിരുന്നില്ല, അവള് വെളുപ്പിനെ എണീക്കത്തില്ല. ഞാനൊരു കാര്യം ചോദിക്കട്ടെ, ഒരു മോന് അമ്മയോട് ഇങ്ങനെ പറഞ്ഞിട്ട് നിങ്ങൾ ഈ കംപ്ലൈന്റ് പറഞ്ഞിട്ടുണ്ട്, നിങ്ങളുടെ ഉത്തരം എന്തായിരിക്കും? എന്റെ അമ്മ ആൻസർ ചെയ്തപ്പോൾ ഞാൻ ഷോക്ക് ആയിപ്പോയി. അമ്മ പറഞ്ഞു, മോനെ അവൾ ഉറങ്ങട്ടെ, എത്ര വേണമെങ്കിലും ഉറങ്ങട്ടെ, എന്റെ വയസ്സ് തികയുമ്പോൾ അവൾക്ക് ഉറക്കം ഉണ്ടാവില്ല. അപ്പൊ ഇപ്പോഴെങ്കിലും എത്ര ഉറങ്ങണമെങ്കിലും ഉറങ്ങട്ടെ മോനെ. ഈ ആൻസർ കേട്ടിട്ട് എനിക്ക് ഒരു ആൻസറും മടക്കി പറയാനില്ലായിരുന്നു. ഞാൻ ആദ്യത്തെ കംപ്ലൈന്റ് പറഞ്ഞപ്പോൾ ഈ ആൻസർ കിട്ടിയപ്പോൾ അതോടുകൂടെ ഇതുവരെ ഞാൻ അമ്മയോട് ഒരു കംപ്ലൈന്റും പറഞ്ഞിട്ടില്ല. എനിക്കറിയാം എൻ്റെ അമ്മ എങ്ങനെയാണ് ഇതിനെ പറ്റി ആലോചിക്കുന്നത്. അപ്പൊ ഞാൻ തന്നെ ഒരു കംപ്ലൈന്റ് ഉണ്ടെങ്കിൽ ഞാൻ തന്നെ വിചാരിക്കും അമ്മ എങ്ങനെയായിരിക്കും ആൻസർ ചെയ്യാൻ പോകുന്നത്. അപ്പൊ അത് മനസ്സിലെടുത്തുകൊണ്ട് ഞാൻ തന്നെ ശരിയാവാൻ നോക്കും. അപ്പൊ അതോടുകൂടെ അതിന് 7 മണിക്ക് എണീക്കോ 8 മണിക്ക് എണീക്കോ എനിക്കിപ്പോ ഒരു വിരോധവുമില്ല. So she set the tone to all my complaints for life. Why? Because she had a godly perspective. So on every situation I found she had a godly wisdom. She looked at the big picture of the situation, considering what the Bible, the master management book, says. The book of life tells us every answer to a situation. In other words, the learning point in this whole story is the fear of God is the beginning of wisdom. And my mother pointed me to this. So let me summarize what I said. There were 3 points I want you to take home from what I learned. Point our children or grandchildren to the mightiness and holiness of God. He is to be honored and worshipped. Know Him well. Second point, prayer is the most powerful tool that God has gifted each one of us as believers. Are we praying our hearts out? And the third point, the knowledge of God is the beginning of wisdom. Are we reading the Bible thoroughly and accepting it into the heart to solve the problems. Every answer to our situation, our problems, is in the Bible. Read it. I thank God for opening me to this knowledge through my mother, through her actions and her life. I end by quoting the words of 2 Corinthians 5:15 to 16. For we are to God the aroma of Christ among those who are being saved and those who are perishing. My mother leaves this world, leaving a sweet aroma for me and my family to cherish, having pointed me to the mighty God that we are to serve.